Welcome, everybody. Welcome back. Welcome to post-episode issues. Today, we're going to be talking about 24, Season 9, Episodes 1 and 2, or you might call it 24, Live Another Day, hours from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. We're getting together almost right at 11 a.m. We're starting almost exactly when Jack Bauer started his day on day 9. So, but I'm going to refer to it as at 24, Live Another Day, all that. That's a lot. That's a big sandwich to stick in your mouth, and I don't know if I want to stick that big of a sandwich in my mouth. So I'm just going to refer to it as 24 Season 9.
What's the Die Hard name?
Die Hard with a Vengeance.
There's not Die Hard Another
Oh,
Day.
Die Hard, Live Another Day, I believe it's called. And die Again, to die again. But the important thing here is, unlike Jack Bauer, I have friends. And I'm not doing this podcast alone. With me today is my co-host for the post-episode issues here, and one of the few co-hosts that I have that'll be showing up. But my main co-host, the one and only Joe Dreads. How's it going today, Joe?
Goes very well. Good to see y'all.
Yes. We're going to talk about some 24. Now, no doubt there are going to be some similarities here. Most people have watched it. We're a little late in the game. 24, we had a little bit of trouble hooking up right after the broadcast. There was some Google Hangout mess up, so I couldn't get on right afterwards. I recorded a 45-minute immediate thoughts of it, but that kind of was all messed up because of technical difficulties. But 24 is a different kind of show than Game of Thrones or even The Walking Dead. It's a little bit more action-based, just straight action. There's not a lot. I mean, the drama gets mixed in here and there, but for the most part, it's action.
The drama is given to us through pensive looks and stares rather than actual, super dialogue and storyline and stuff.
Exactly.
Right, just like that.
Jack Bauer has a lot of depth to the things that have happened to him in the past through seasons 1 through 8.
And none of that, by the way.
Yeah, let's get that right out of the way. Now, first off, if you have any comments about this season 24, or any 24 along the way, please comment. Please use the comment section below. Also, comment, rate, subscribe, do all that stuff to us. We like when you do that stuff to us. It makes us feel good all over. But let me clarify where we are for 24 here. I've seen every single episode of 24 a few times, actually, and I've also seen the TV movie that's in between the two. I believe it's seasons 6 and 7, or it might be seasons 5 and 6. I have to double check on that. But I've seen every little bit of 24. Joe, on the other hand, watched the first season and then immediately watched some of season 2 and was like, I can't deal with this again. This is stupid. I can't deal with Kim Bauer with a cougar. I don't want any of that. And from what I've talked to him, he did maybe watch a little bit of season 3 too, and then he was like, "Oh, Kim Bauer's at CTU now. What the fuck with Kim Bauer?"
Yeah, that was pretty weird. Oh, it's Jack Bauer's daughter. She must know how to, and she's been a real douchebag, and she must be great for a CTU agent.
No doubt, the fact of having to use Kim over and over at the first half of 24 was probably one of the weak links of the first couple of seasons. But this is a completely new 24. We don't have that many returning characters. No Bill Buchanan, no Tony Almeida yet. None of those people. We know Michelle's dead. I mean, we all know everything that's happened in 24. If you're checking out this podcast, you're probably more familiar with 24. And probably you're not going to go back and watch all of 24 before you watch Live Another Day. And maybe if I can get Joe to Live Another Day a little bit, and he starts to enjoy it, maybe we'll go back and do the rest of 24. But for now, we're just going to do each episode of this new season of Jack Bauer. And a lot of stuff's changed in the 4 years since Jack Bauer's been gone. And, let's get right into it. Now, season 8, the last time we saw Jack Bauer, just to fill Joe in and some of the viewers that might not have seen, Jack Bauer had a little bit of a problem. He has a lot of problems, but he had a little bit of a problem with the president, where the president, Jack Bauer, was working against the president's evil agenda, so to speak. I'm not going to get too into it, but so she kind of sicked the dogs on Jack Bauer, sicked everybody on him to try to bring him down. Through the end of that, she had second thoughts about it and went out of her way to after Jack Bauer went completely rogue and killed a bunch of people and laid his sword of revenge down for everyone that's wronged him in this world. The president has a kind of a change of heart. She realizes that she did something wrong, and she basically gives Jack a head start. She says, "Listen, Jack, I know I wronged you. Sorry, this country really screwed you over. Get the hell out of here. Get the hell out of here." And that was 4 years ago. Now, we need to be clear about something. 4 years ago in 24 time. Season 8 in 24 time was 2013, 2014. So that means right now in 24 time, 4 years later, which they made it very clear at the beginning of this, that's 4 years later, we are in 2017 or 2018, around then. That's the time period we're set in this new 24. I feel like that's important. Simply because of the nature of the way that the drones are and that kind of technology that's within this season. I feel like it's supposed to be maybe set a little bit into the future. Did you get any of that kind of vibe, Joe, or would you have thought it was just modern times?
It's modern time. I got modern time. I got like 4 or 5 years, pretty much however long he's been on the run, since the end of the season 8. Mm-hmm. I think they tried to keep in time with that. Events have happened in real time, so the time that's been off has been real-time time off, and it's exactly however long it's been since season 8 ended.
Now, this
That's
is...
the vibe I got, but...
But the truth in the 24 world is they said it was 4 years later, so if we want to go by...
How long has it been since the season's ended? It's only been about 4 years.
It's been 4 years. It's the exact same amount of time between the seasons, you're right, but in 24 years, it would be 2017, in the year that Jack Bauer starts all this. Because
okay, so it's 3 years in the future, but...
But so who really cares that much? The other thing we need to address right away.
Well, that helps out, because then if by keeping it even a small bit in the future, it helps out. They have a little bit more leeway with tech crap.
Right here, and have a little bit more leeway with how things are going with the world interactions, like what our relationship with England would be at this point, and things like that. It allows to have a little bit more of an alternate universe situation going on.
Apparently, the U.S. has really amped up the drone strikes, because there's not quite that much protest about how we're killing off terrorists. I mean, there's not too much difference between a sniper at 400 yards and a drone that flies in and out that has no,
But think about it. They even bring a drone in with the they want you. 24 wants you to be ingrained with this whole drone thing right from the start. Even in when they're hunting down, and we'll get point by point in the episode. Even when they're hunting down Jack Bauer at the beginning, they use the little Tonka, the little remote control drone,
the two-wheeler thing
that goes in there.
Yeah.
The other thing I want to address before we start,
which was kind of large.
It was
large. Very secretive of a microphone. I mean, you can make a remote control Matchbox car with a little camera in it, for Christ's sakes. That thing was huge. I mean, that's an all-terrain camera apparently, but still.
It looked like something Batman would use in like 80s Batman, which was like guy on the side of it or something. Like got it from the Acme company.
Robin pulled it out of his backpack so it wouldn't fit in his tool belt.
Holy drones, Batman! We have Jack Bauer in there. So the other thing I feel like we want to address right from the beginning is the fact that 24 has been scaled down to 12 episodes, and the real-time thing, I feel like the real-time thing was just a touch they almost didn't need. I feel like that could have been one of the changes they made with 24. If they were just going to scale it back to the 12-hour thing, it doesn't make sense calling the show 24, so they could have just cut all of that out and just had it be kind of regular drama. I like having the countdown thing, and I think that's what they want to bring you, some of that nostalgia. But I feel like they took out the extra episodes because they want to try this out, see what kind of response it has. But ultimately, 24 to me makes more sense if it's going to be quote unquote 24, that it's 24 episodes and each episode's an hour.
Yeah.
It didn't distract me a lot, but it is worth mentioning that it's a thing. They
should have called it 24 Live Another Half Day.
That's not bad. That's not bad. I think we should subtitle this podcast that Live Another Half Day.
And it's actually 13 hours, 12 episodes.
12 episodes.
That first episode was a 2-hour episode.
But that's what I've got to double check on that. If that means that we have 11 more episodes left, or do we have 10 more episodes left?
And I'm not quite sure too. I'm pretty sure we have 11 more episodes left. But that's a good question, because the way they cut that episode in the middle, they did the whole...
We have 10 more episodes left.
Okay.
We have 10 more episodes.
Because they did do that whole... it's almost like they did a double episode, the first one, but in the future when they do reruns, they have that cut right in the middle where they start the next hour.
How do you feel about that in television in general? A lot of shows do that. Even shows like Kitchen Nightmares and reality shows do that. They give you the 2-hour premiere, but they cut it in... as 2 separate episodes, so they can easily just rebroadcast it as separate episodes.
I think that's It's good because in reruns, in syndication, they're not going to play these 2-hour episodes. They just won't do it.
I guess the only thing that bothers me about it is the fact that they don't usually edit out what happened in last week's episode at the beginning, and they broadcast it as 2 separate episodes starting back to back. And I'd rather just for the 2-hour premiere, they do a little extra legwork and edit it all into one seamless 2 hours and then separate it later, kind of like Star Trek did with the Emissary episode for the first episode of Deep Space Nine, or in the last episodes of All Good Things when they initially showed the episodes in big 2-hour blocks without interruptions, and then later added the titles. I guess I just feel like a lot more shows are being lazy and just putting it in the can early and being like, we don't have to do anything.
Well, they want to be able to send it out once they edit it. It's edited. It's done. They can send those editors home. They don't have to wait for it to air and then do any more work on the series. It's just done. The networks will get it. It'll be all set to go. Let's
also fast forward into the future here and realize where we're at. It's not just that too, and I realized it halfway through what I was saying. It's also for Amazon Instant Video and for the on-demand services.
Yep, because they're going to want to make the extra $2 or $3 off of each download. They don't want to give them one 2-episode price. They want to get every buck they can squeeze out of people.
So it makes sense. Oh, I could. Sorry for a little bit of feedback. You can hear me right there, but whatever. Whatever. You want to hear me double? I want to hear myself double. Sorry about that.
Well, let me turn you down a little bit so that way there's not as much feedback. I have quite a little leeway here.
Excellent. So basically 24 has come back, and I'm excited about it. It's part of this resurgence, I think, of network TV being like, listen, we're losing market shares to the AMCs of the world and the HBOs of the world. We have these old shows that had these huge audiences, and even when we took them off the air, they had huge audiences, but just because they were in decline, we took them away. Look what Fox did with Arrested Development. We could do something similar to that and put it on our network. And that's why.
Oh my God, what they did to poor Arrested Development. Was amazing.
We can talk about that later. And with 24,
Raising Hope.
With Raising Hope, how they canceled Raising Hope, how they canceled Arrested Development, how they're canceling Almost Human right now for the people
this show's a hit, but we don't want to pay them too much. Let's bury it on Friday night. Oh, look, you're in decline. You're canceled. Bye.
Yeah, that's exactly what they did too. And this new show that with Christopher Keller from Oz that they just had on Fox as well, Surviving Jack, they gave it 5 episodes. You don't give a comedy or a sitcom 5 episodes. You need to give a show some time.
Really? I missed it? I missed all 5? Is it done?
It's done. It's that next week, tomorrow. I think tonight's the season finale of it.
Is it supposed to be only 5, or did they cancel it?
They canceled it.
Oh, it wasn't doing well?
No, it wasn't.
People don't like him cracking jokes. They want him crying over raped girls.
Or something, right? They don't like him being funny. So, but with 24 here, they're bringing 24 back because they're trying to recapture some of that audience that they lost, and realizing that this is an entity, this is a cash cow that they have, and they couldn't get the movie started because forever after 24 ended, one of the main reasons they ended it was to get this movie going, and then they gave Kiefer Sutherland another show with Touch, and because he didn't want to do Jack Bauer again and do another show, and then Touch failed, so they're like, okay, Kiefer, we got to do another 24 show. And he's like, okay, I'll do 24.
Well, at this point, he's forever going to be Jack Bauer. I think he kind of fell in that curse, that Superman curse. You know, like not the current Superman, but the original Superman curse, where he's just so ingrained now. He's, to his own detriment, he performed so well. He will forever be Jack Bauer, and people are going to have a hard time seeing him as anything else in other roles. I hate to
say it, but I even, being someone that was a Kiefer Sutherland fan from the very beginning, loves movies like Flatliners and his
Young Guns.
Young Guns. I was just about to talk about Young Guns, but I was trying to think of the werewolf movie that he was in with Corey Feldman. Why am I blanking on the name?
Boys. Lost.
Lost Boys. Lost Boys. Yeah.
Boys Lost.
Lost. It's Lost Boys. And with Kiefer Sutherland, with Young Guns, I even go back and watch
Corey's.
I go back and watch these things now, and I see him as Jack Bauer. I'm like, oh, whoa, there's young Jack Bauer. So he really made such a important impact on being the Jack Bauer character. He couldn't help but bring it back. And that's why you're seeing NBC bring back Heroes, and we talked about this before. Lost is coming back. If you think that, and I'm stealing this from someone else, somebody said, but it's true. If you think that Lost isn't coming back, you're silly. If NBC's bringing back Heroes and they're bringing back 24, Lost is 2 years away. It's coming. But
I'm a little disappointed that they'll bring Lost back.
They will, and ultimately what they'll do
What's it all going to be? What is like the fact that it was all a dream going to be a dream?
It's gonna be a dream within a dream within a snow globe. I think they'll probably
We're
do.
gonna finally find out about the fucking polar bear.
I think we learned about the polar bear. I don't want to get this into turn this into a lost.
Okay, yeah. Back
Okay.
on topic. Sorry.
Back on topic. But they did find out the polar bears. But we'll get into that after the show.
Crash circus something or other.
So 24, we open up in East London. There's agents looking through a crowded area looking for somebody. We get a real impact of this area in London and how it's supposed to be a really bad section.
Right. The ominous somebody. Like, we're not supposed to know immediately who the high-value target is that they're all talking about and running after.
The Jedi Knight, you mean?
Right.
Oh, we've got Jedi in there? And what was that kind of vibe? And he's walking in with a cloak over his head and stuff, so we don't know who he is.
Yeah, the hood, the Unabomber hood.
Yeah, and this is where we meet one of our new characters, a character named Eric Ritter, and he is he's the leader of, it seems like he's the leader of the ops team that's out handling the mission. And it turns out, as we said, the target is none other than Jack Bauer.
And they didn't even hide it from us for that long. Like, they showed us 1 or 2 clips of him kicking ass with his hood on.
Yep.
And then immediately zoom in on his face in the dark where you see it's Jack Bauer.
Yeah, where he's staring at the camera. He kind of he looks at the camera and gives it a little turn.
Yeah. Like, if you're gonna hide it from us and let us really wonder, are they actually going after Jack Bauer here? But then they knew that people just know it's Jack Bauer, so they should have just taken that out and made it, oh, we believe Jack Bauer is in the building here.
And then at the same time, we're kind of introduced to the whole setup at the new CTU here, and we meet this blonde agent named Kate. I have her last name here somewhere, and I'll
call her Kate Homeland for now.
Kate Homeland.
Danes.
Kate Dexter. Kate Dexter.
Kate Danes, I like.
And we also meet the head of Mr. Navarro, Dave Navarro here. No, the head of
Benjamin Bratt.
Benjamin Bratt of CTU.
Beautiful Benjamin Bratt.
Or CTI, whatever, playing another cop, straight edge sort of character. Similar. Kate Morgan's her name. Kate Morgan. We see
another Law and Order graduate. We were talking about the Oz guy, so I just figured I'd send out
so many Law and Order.
Order.
I was watching it. There's so many Oz people on TV. Saeed has a new show too. So yeah. And so does Vern. So she's leaving. So we find out this Kate person's leaving at the end of the week. We find out that her husband sold military secrets to the Chinese, and everyone's thinking, well, if she was this great agent, this Jack Bauer type agent, that we're immediately supposed to get the vibe that she's a step above everyone else in this CIA office. That if she, and this doesn't make sense to me, if she's such a good agent, then she should have realized and been on the hip that her husband was on
Love is blind.
Love is blinding. And doesn't that seem like an obvious thing? Like, you're not going to look at the person that you quote unquote love and that you
But here's the thing. Most of the time, most people, human instinct is to think that your spouse is cheating on you in the first place. So there should have been some suspicion that something was going on if he's having to be clandestine and sneak around and meet up with Chinese agents and sell them secrets or do it online. There's going to be some sort of mysterious behaviors of his that should have alerted her, like any woman, especially a trained analyst for the CIA, that something is up with my husband.
I guess.
He's cheating on me or selling my secrets.
I guess, but you also have to think about it from the other end, that if you're somebody that deals with this sort of thing every single day, if that's your job and you're at work dealing with torturing people and interrogating people and getting in people's faces and trying to make supposition everything in the world, when you go home to your loved one, you might just want to sit on the couch and watch some Kitchen Nightmares and hear Gordon Ramsay yelling at people. It's fucking raw. I mean, you might.
How do you be the best agent, analyst at the CTU on foreign soil and go home and watch TV? You bury your head in the face in the case files, which is the same thing. So.
But some people do. Some people kind of block their mind. There's a lot of elements of people that say work in drug counseling, and then their significant other ends up being a drug addict and they don't know, or something like that, because they're so focused on their work that they don't look at their personal life.
And I found that believable that she could not know her husband was selling. I really did find that believable. People have secrets about from this by spouses all the time.
Absolutely.
Not really far-fetched to think that she could have been a victim with this as well.
I found it more unbelievable that no one in the office or no one at the CIA, we're going to keep calling them CTU because basically they're CTU. It even looks like CTU. But the CIA London office, you got to believe that these people have known her. She's done so many great things. It would be kind of that, duh, she was in love with this guy. She just wouldn't think about it. But we're spending a lot of time.
They all seem to have like turned on her except for Benjamin. And I know that our Eric was his name. Is that his name? Our new cast member. I know that he obviously has a
agenda,
so he doesn't like her. But as far as everybody else, I mean, she still has that friend there that she uses in future scenes. But everybody else seems to also be like, she didn't know, she's no good anymore.
The new Milo is the guy you're referring to. Milo is a character on the first seasons that was very similar to this guy. He's a computer geek, and he seems to have a little place in his heart for Kate Morgan here, and he gives her the secrets. Because when Jack Bauer eventually gets detained, she asks for some information from Eric, and Eric's like, "No, you can't have the information." But this computer geek kind of brings it to her. And also, just to give you fair warning, Joe, in case you don't remember, I mean, you remember season 1. Every season of 24 has a mole. So one of these people working in the CIA are probably a bad guy mole. That's all I'm saying. Like, one of these people that we've introduced, my initial impression is that I think it's Benjamin Bratt. Because he makes a lot of stupid decisions with Kate that we're going to get into in a second here.
Sorry.
No, keep going.
Well, this whole relationship between her and Benjamin Bratt is very Saul and Claire Danish from Homeland. It really, right from the beginning, I was like, oh my God, this is the same kind of setup here as in this other show, and I think that's going to be the twist, is that Benjamin Bratt ends up being a mole or a bad guy, which he does very well in other projects that I've seen him in. He does a bad guy pretty well. So
it is fair to say that the 24 creators, since working on 24, have been working on Homeland, and I haven't watched a single episode of Homeland, so this is where Joe's expertise comes in, that he has watched.
Did you say the writers are the same writers?
I think it's the same production team. Okay. Don't quote me on that. I have to double check on that, and if anyone in the comment section can correct me, I believe it is the same creative team that works on Homeland that works on 24. I need to do some fact checking on that, but I believe that to be the case.
And I'm kind of surprised they would let something like that slide and not go, we're kind of mirroring something here. And maybe they want us to kind of feel like it's mirrored so they can throw that twist at us and show us that their relationship isn't as close as Saul's and Claire Danes or whatever. So, Mandy Patinkin.
Mandy Patinkin, yep. So we get back in the street, as we said, and Eric is leading his team into a building, and the target is Jack Bauer. Jack Bauer escapes the building, but chooses to, instead of going to the roof, decides to go outside and knee a couple of random passerbyers.
Right. She predicts that he should be going to the roof, and they're all like, "Shut up!
Shut up, no!" And then but it's funny. He just wants to go randomly punch people while he's walking down the street. It's pretty amazing. It's just a pretty funny scene.
Well, it's good to note too. Jack Bauer doesn't kill a single agent in their assault on him at all. And he doesn't, and we'll keep going, but he doesn't kill a single agent. He only knocks them out, disarms them, a couple punches to the head, and they're all passed out and stuff. But he doesn't kill a single one. He doesn't do any death moves to any of them.
I am incorrect. The creators of 24 did not work on Homeland. One of them worked on Jag, and one of them worked on like La Femme Nikita and stuff. So I don't know. Maybe some of the writers are shared, but that information was incorrect. So discredit what I said there. I was full of shit there. I was under the wrong impression. I want to say some of the writers are shared, but the creators are not the same. Right. So we also find out that in this whole beginning setup that President Heller, or President, who was the defense secretary, I believe, when we met him before, he is in the area, and these agents are wondering if that's why Jack Bauer's resurfacing, because because President Heller's in England, Jack Bauer shows up in England after being gone for 4 years. It's
not a coincidence, and for them to even be wondering about it seemed a little odd to me. The president's right here. Jack Bauer surfaces. There's a definite connection. Let's call the trip short and get the president out, because staying is not an option.
Speaking of the president, this is where we go to our president, and he talks to his staff about the vote about these drone missiles and how England is against having the drone missiles there to protect from terrorism, and they might vote it down, and it's a controversial subject, and this is where we meet another one of our main characters who theoretically could be a bad guy or just is a real dick. The chief of staff, played by Marissa's dad from the OC, and a million other things. His name's Bordeaux, but he's been in tons of stuff. I don't know the actor's name offhand, but he's been in everything. He's just one of those like journeyman actors. He mentions to Heller that he made a mistake in the story he told because he messes up and says Franklin Roosevelt instead of Teddy Roosevelt about sailing across the sea on a boat. And then we come to find out that they don't directly say it is Alzheimer's, but we find out that the president's getting sick. He's losing his mind slowly. If it's dementia or Alzheimer's, we're not exactly sure. They don't name the disease, but we get the vibe that he's going to lose his mind. But it gets said very early on, and I think this is very funny that they did it this way. It says very early on that it's probably going to take about a year for the effects to really show themselves. And then we reconnect with Audrey, who we see and is normal again, not in catatonic state. We'll get to her in a second. But she mentions to this guy that yeah, but stress can bring it on really quickly. Do you think that's the stress of one day is going to bring it on? It's like one of those things, like, of course he's going to have the results of it by the end of the day. They just said that so he could just become completely symptomatic by the end of the day. Like, no doubt they're going to... This is one of those weird, fuzzy 24 logic things that they're going to make this guy sick in a day. They're going to go from normal to sick in a day. Watch.
Right. And that part is going to... They're going to progress this illness of his, which is really in its infancy. They're really going to make it... I got that same feeling too. By the end of this series, we're going to forget that it's only been 12 hours, and we're going to think, oh, 6 months later, he can't remember his own kid's name.
Exactly. It's going to seem like there's going to be a moment where he forgets Audrey's name, where he like blanks.
Like he may have this thing. He may have increased moments of non-clarity, right? But the thing is, ultimately, at this point, he should kind of be not really further off, and by the end of the show, he should not really be further off than any single one of us who are like, you know, I may call you Nick.
Yeah.
At some point. You know?
Or at some point during the podcast, I might be like, what was I talking about? And it just happens. I mean, I'm a hippie. It happens sometimes.
But it's not supposed to happen to the leader of the free world.
Oh no, the president can't have a moment of where he messes up Teddy Roosevelt and Franklin Roosevelt, or he says four guys.
Shame on me, fool me twice. Well, you can't fool me twice.
So Bordeaux gets a call from Navarro, and this is where we get connecting the two storylines a little bit, about Jack Bauer. Bordeaux says he'd rather Jack be turned to the special "we're going to torture you with needles" group because he knows what Jack Bauer did to this family. And ultimately, just to clue you in, Joe, what Jack did to this family, Jack got captured by the Chinese, and Audrey went... A few other things happened. But
Audrey's the daughter of the president?
Audrey's the daughter of the president. She went to... I believe it was to China. It might have been Russia. I might be mixing two stories. But she went looking for him. And he ended up getting away, and the people that had him captured her and tortured her for a while and turned her into a catatonic state, which Jack Bauer eventually ended up rescuing her, or eventually she ended up getting rescued. And the last time we saw her, she was in a catatonic state. But the last thing she realized is she was going to find Jack because they were in love, and she realized that she...
So what's the history? Oh, so they were in love.
They were in love.
With that Secretary of Defense now? That's what I was... Is that who that is? Or the Secretary of State? The young guy, whatever he is?
No, he's the chief of staff.
Is he with the daughter?
He's married to her, yeah. He's her husband.
Okay, so that's why he was all like, don't tell anyone I found Jack Bauer.
Exactly.
Because I'm going to have him tortured because he loved my wife.
And ultimately, the president feels probably similar to the way that guy feels about Jack Bauer. He feels like everything Jack Bauer touches turns to dust, and he doesn't want him anywhere near his daughter. But Audrey, even though the last time we saw her, she was catatonic, the last thought she had about Jack was, I need to find him, I need to save him, I love him. So she's probably not going to be as upset to hear about Jack Bauer. She probably thinks Jack's dead, or on the run, or wherever he is. But she she isn't as negative towards Jack Bauer as everybody else in her circle is.
So they'll be making out before the end of the season.
They'll be making out before the end of and he'll be beating the crap out of that chief of staff guy because he's that much of a dick that we know that eventually Jack Bauer is going to be torturing that guy.
Was he a dick in previous seasons?
I don't remember him from previous seasons.
Because I didn't get that big of a dick. I got a little bit of a jealousy vibe. And yeah, okay, why is he being so secretive about Jack Bauer? But I didn't get that big of a dickish vibe. Even when he's later on in that last scene, I was like, of course he has to do that. Of course he has to do that. He's doing a good job there.
Okay, we'll see how that progresses throughout the season with this guy. I seem to think that maybe this guy's a little shady. Joe's getting good vibes from him, so we'll see how.
Good vibes. No.
Not good vibes. Wait, let's clarify your statement here. I'm getting all kinds of shady from this guy. I think maybe he's working with Benjamin Bratt as a rat. That's what I'm thinking. That Jack Bauer's going to have to take them both down by the end. But let's proceed here. There's more for this guy later. So Bordeaux says he'd rather turn Jack over to this awful activity. Now we get back to Kate and Dave Navarro here. And Kate says this is where she gets into the whole thing about it seems strange to her the way Jack just kind of gave himself up. That if he's Jack Bauer and he's been hiding for 4 years and he's superhero guy that we think he is, don't you think he wouldn't have been caught so easy? Don't you think he would have had a backup plan? And it's sort of again this obvious thing that Benjamin Bratt should have been like, yeah, that makes perfect sense. He's Jack Bauer. He's not going to just give himself up like that. And it all becomes even tenser because we haven't heard Jack say a word yet. He's like,
yeah, he hadn't said a word at all.
He's quiet. It was great for the episode. 45 minutes into the episode is when Jack finally talks. It's incredible big turnaround. But Navarro says that Kate just shut up. You shut up. You don't know anything. You're just trying to find something because of everything that happened with your husband. I get it. He was my friend too. So then we flash over, we go back and forth a little bit here. We go to the U.S. drone pilot working at a base. A pilot named Tanner is told by his superior Shepard that he made a mistake in his previous mission and will getting his leave taken away. Tanner is upset. You want to know something interesting about Tanner, Joe? The guy that played Tanner, the pilot, the drone guy that worked at the computer, he is going to be one of the stars of the new Star Wars movie coming.
Is this his first thing too?
This is one of his early things. I'd have to look. I do have IMDb close to me, so I probably could search that information out. But he recently got cast as the new
Han and Chewie's child.
I don't know. That would be interesting. But I don't know what he is on the new show. But Wikipedia says that Heller's disease is dementia. So I guess we're gonna go with Wikipedia since it knows everything.
Dementia is not quite Alzheimer's. Alzheimer's takes a while. Dementia. So they're gonna do what he's got, sundowning. So as the day progresses, it does get worse.
No, definitely. It's definitely people get worse at nighttime, and they're a lot more lucid during the day with people.
And I don't know how quick dementia can set on to someone. Maybe he's already progressed a few months into this, and we're just
unless he has a stroke or something to make it happen quickly, which I guess they could do. It's doubtful that it would progress faster than over like at least a 6-month period of it going. But anyways, that actor that was running, the guy that's like, oh god, that guy, son of a bitch, that dude is going to be in the new Star Wars movie. He is one of the new generation Star Wars people. So Navarro decides that he is going to talk to Jack before the special torture group takes over. Kate asks, this is where Kate asks the Eric guy if she can look at the intercept that brought them to Jack, and he says, she's not clear to that. You're stupid. I'm going to take your job, and and spins his mustache a little bit. And this is where another agent named Jordan brings Kate the intercept, and she and him together realize that it was a tip from somebody else. It's where she has
supposed to be a tip from but they figure out it's a plant. It came from the same neighborhood that Jack is running around in.
Exactly. It comes from Jack's little dog that we meet later. It was crazed dog guy. Do you realize that guy killed him? Navarro sits across the table from Jack in the interrogation room. He tells Jack, "Listen, buddy, just tell me what to do. Tell me what you know. He tries to do the Jack Bauer thing to Jack Bauer, and Jack just looks at him like, "Are you an idiot?" And then we get one of the two lines, like the Chuck Norris type line, where he's got the most calm pulse I've ever seen in my life. I've never seen a man with a pulse like that.
Not even temperature fluctuations.
No, man, since Master Yoda has a metachlorian count like that.
Ninja Jack Bauer.
And this is where we finally are introduced to Chloe O'Brien. It gets said a lot, but I can't not say it. She's got this ridiculous a girl with a dragon tattoo on her body. She's got a haircut all emo style, and even though she's getting tortured, I'm laughing at the way she looks.
Gail the Snail.
So whatever. But Chloe, from an acting standpoint, was Chloe at 100% level. Once we got into the Chloe and Jack, which we'll get into in a second, it was
as a little nod to her as an actress, I want her to give an angry handy to Jack Bauer under the table.
So we get Bordeaux looking through the chief of staff, looking through Jack's files, and we see now this is where we learn that this guy's married to Audrey Raines. It's not really clear. She says something to him like, "You're my husband" or something, or it was like a passing comment.
She's getting ready for whatever, and he brings her the necklace.
And this is where he talks to his deputy, where she's about to walk in, and he's like, "I don't think we should let Special Activities torture Jack Bauer, and he shouldn't go on trial. We should give him to the Russians so they can kill him and torture him because they've been."
Well, this is also where we find out that he's even trying to keep it. He said that he didn't want anyone to know earlier. Don't tell anyone that we found Jack Bauer, but he kind of lets the name slip with the wife coming out of the other room, and he's like, "Hey, shut up." And they go out into the hall, so he definitely doesn't want anyone to know.
He doesn't want her or President Heller to hear the words Jack Bauer. Right. And he's also keeping it from the president. Because at this point, his little underling's like, "We should probably talk to the president here." And he's like, no, we got to keep this to the hip. Can't talk about this. Because I think he also knows that even though Heller is negative towards Bauer in the past, he was also his friend and surrogate father figure at certain points and times in the series when Jack worked for him, and I believe it was season 3. So it is important that maybe he's come to a point where he, as President Taylor might have informed Heller of some of the stuff that Jack Bauer has been through, and maybe there's some sort of forgiveness there, but we'll see about that in the future. And maybe the dementia made him lose a little bit of all the horrible things that Bauer did to his family, or he thinks that Bauer did to his family. So we discover that the intercept that Jack came from an internet cafe that's a few blocks down. Now, this is where, again, Kate thinks that Jack may have done the tip herself. Kate pulls Navarro out of the interrogation room and tells him what she learned about Jack. And the word from Jack's transfer order comes in, so Navarro steps away for a second, and Kate pushes them away and runs into the room and starts to takes out the guard and runs in the room and gets in Jack's face and goes, "Listen, I know you set the thing. Who are you looking for? Why are you here?" Kind of calls him out on his bullshit. And Jack Bauer's pulse goes up for the first time in the episode. You see a spike in a pulse, and she's like, "Look, his pulse is up. Come on. We know," and this is where she's doing the Jack Bauer thing. Listen, I know what's going on here.
Did that seem a little strange to you? Like,
pulse would rise right there?
Jack Bauer, I'm the master of my pulse and temperature rate and everything. Who are you looking for? Okay, that sparks some...
Think about it from this end, that I think that Jack thinks, and especially at this point, after being 4 years on the run, probably thinks he's so ahead of these people that none of these lemmings could possibly figure out what I'm up to here. That they're all complete idiots. Like, I have every ounce of this planned, and then suddenly someone busts into the room and calls him directly on his bullshit. You know, it's like if you're at a poker game and you think that you have everybody and you've been lording the table, and then someone just calls your hand on you.
And PD fucking reads your friggin' hand.
And your pulse starts to pick up, and it just does. You can't help it. You're like, oh my god, he actually knows what I'm holding. And it's no matter how controlled you are, especially when you think you're fine, you have a little bit of an ego about it, which I think Jack definitely does at this point. He has an ego about how in control he is, that it shocks him that someone could possibly be smart enough to know what he's...
Yeah, I guess you're right about that, about his ego, because he does let that out again in a later scene. Which is one of my favorite scenes in the whole, reminiscent of the Taken movies, but still. Oh yeah,
absolutely. It's definitely reminiscent of the Taken movies. It's a total Liam Neeson moment, but we'll get to that in a second. So they pull Kate out of the room and they bring Jack down to Special Activities. But right after they check past the video camera, Ritter's kind of talking shit to him, being like, "Yeah, you're Jack Bauer. We studied you in old classes. You used to be cool." back in the day, and it was like right on cue. We had to suddenly get to show you Jack Bauer's still Jack Bauer, and it was like 45 minutes into the episode, just like totally chokes the guy out, does not kill him as Joe put.
Well, he has something implanted in his wrist that he clicks.
I missed that.
And when he clicks it, it makes Jack Bauer's dog, who's outside playing with the electricity and the gearbox and all that stuff and the fuse box or whatever, he triggers the lights to go off at that moment when Jack clicks the clicker in his wrist because he's handcuffed behind his back. When the lights go off, that's when Jack acts and flips around and chokes him out. And again, Jack Bauer not killing any agents in this building at all.
He could have killed them,
incapacitating them all, which shows exactly how much ahead of these people he really is.
His abilities are.
I find this strange that nobody says anything about that. Well, he incapacitated 20 of us earlier today. Didn't kill a single one of us.
Yeah, it's the Batman thing. I mean, they're just like, we don't care. We just want to stop the Batman here.
Right.
And which you get a couple of vibes like that, Batman vibes from him more than any other kind of superhero. We joke about ninja, super warrior. You get a Batman vibe from him. Even the way he interrogates people, he's Batman that will kill. And he eventually brings Jack to Chloe. He beats the shit out of the guy that was torturing Chloe, or stabs him in his arm, I think. And
he puts some sort of.
I think he stabs
drugs him, doesn't he?
Maybe, because you see the guy getting patched up in his arm later, and he knocks out the guy, and we see Chloe. Chloe's basically dead, or at least we think he's dead. Jack doesn't really check. He just kind of stabs her with adrenaline. He just like checks her pulse for a second and just like stabs her with a shot of adrenaline.
Pulp Fiction action there.
Yeah, it was totally pops up. It's kind of a comedic point. It's a comedic moment where she just pops up. Jack, what are you doing here?
Right.
And at the same moment, we see that Jordan, the computer tech guy, tells Kate that Chloe is being held in special activities, and that's probably the reason on a treason charge. And we get a little history of where Chloe's been. She was in jail a little while for the things that happened with her helping Bauer in season 8, and now she is in a kind of like a computer hacker group, and she's been brought in for questioning. And they're like, oh shit, Chloe, that's why Jack's here. And they all head down, and they see that Eric's down on the ground, and she has Jordan kind of puts a lockdown on the whole place, but it's too late. She stops Jack for like 1 second, and she's like, stop, I know what you're up to, stop. And Jack punches her in the face. Oh no, that's later. I'm sorry. The dog blows up an escape hole, and Jack kind of runs through the escape hole to a waiting truck, and they drive off into safety. And at the same time, Audrey asks Heller about the mistake he made during the meeting. He admits that the disease is progressing faster than the doctors thought, like in 24 hours. You see,
does she at that point initiate the level 5 lockdown to the...
Yes, she also it does the lockdown. Yeah, or not Audrey.
Benjamin Bratt kind of goes, who initiated the level 5 lockdown? Blah, blah, blah.
He gets a little pissed about it, which again is stupid that he gets pissed about it and shows him to be who he really is in my mind.
Right, which again, and especially where he highlights that there's this super secret separate entity of the CIA that operates on a level below them in the same building. I'm sure if one of them pull an alarm, or a level 5 or whatever level they got down on that floor alarm, it's going to lock down their part of the building too, because it's all one freaking building.
Exactly.
And that part I didn't understand. Like, he's freaking out over who did this when it's this whole building and there's multiple sections to this building. That it just would make sense that he wouldn't be asking his weird guy sitting at the desk there. He would have a phone to pick up and call the director of the unit next door.
Yeah. It just seemed like this whole place is run a little goofy. Like something's going on weird at the top with Benjamin Bratt. Again, he just stinks to me. Either he's really stupid, or he's a mole, or he's a rat. Well, one or the other. There's no chance he's not working for House Tully right now. That's all. Like I just have a feeling he's working for House Tully. We'll get to that.
Not Tully, Frey.
No, Tully. I think she's working for House Tully, working for House Stark, I guess. Then I think he's working for Catelyn Stark.
She's a good guy.
No, she's a bad guy. She's the bad guy. We'll get to that in a second, dude. She's a bad guy. She's the bad guy. So Audrey asks Heller about the mistake.
Confused.
Yeah, she's the awful guy. She's the main villain. And Audrey, so far anyways, Audrey asks Heller about the mistake he made during the meeting, and he admits it's the disease is progressing faster than the doctors thought. He seems to be in the early stages of a type of dementia, or Alzheimer's. I think it's been declared as dementia. Kate tells, we're back to Navarro and Kate tells Navarro and Eric that they have to go find Chloe to find Jack. She asks Navarro to put her in charge of finding him. She reminds him that he dismissed her when she gave him the right information earlier. So
She saw it. Nobody else saw it.
And he's in a kind of a no-win position where he's just like, okay, you need to be in charge of this, okay? And he kind of shoots down the other guy.
I want to point out too that we do find out about this chick in an earlier scene when she's talking to Eric. It might even be this scene, I don't know, about how she didn't catch her husband,
right?
But she was also locked in a room for 4 months, interrogated, and then cleared.
Absolutely. So she's been through a lot of shit.
So she knows exactly what goes on, and she's been through the back end of it as well.
Exactly, and so is Jack, and that's again connects them even more. And it connects them even more to the fact that this actress looks looks a lot like Alicia Cuthbert. So it has like a similarity to his daughter.
Which character is his daughter or something?
What was that?
Alicia Cuthbert is who?
Is Kim Bauer.
Okay.
Kim Bauer, the Girl Next Door movie girl. Number 10 on Maxim's top 100 list last year.
Really?
Yeah, surprisingly, I was surprised by her. I don't find her that attractive, Kim Bauer. I'm not a Kim Bauer fan. So Jack gives Chloe a
okay. House Tully. I see what you're saying. I forgot that she was at the end.
Yeah,
I thought you were just comparing it to Game of Thrones and all the backstabbing.
No, I was saying that I think Benjamin Bratt works for Catelyn Stark.
Right. I see now. All right, okay. Sorry about that.
That's okay. It was funny. So once she gets the cell phone, she drops off, and Chloe goes. Jack asks why he didn't just ask Chloe for help. Why did he have to go through this whole big mess? And
I have no friends.
I have no friends. Yeah, we found out that
I have no friends.
No friends. And I feel like the other guy, his big dog, should have been upset when he said that later on.
Yeah, right.
What am I?
And this guy, I gotta say too that this guy reminds me of another character on Homeland. Also, Claire Danes has like an off book. She's a guy that doesn't work for the CIA, but is like outsourced. That she relies on for bugging, electronics, covert stuff when she's doing other stuff. Like this guy his dog reminds me of that.
So the next scene we get is when someone takes over the drone, Tanner's drone, our young Jedi Padawan's drone, and points it at his boss's convoy. He calls to warn him, but he didn't move in time. A missile explodes and destroys the convoy. We go over to Kate after this. This is important later, but we'll get to that scene in a second, but that happened right there. So then we go going through Chloe's effects, and she calls a police officer that she has on the take. Again, this is very reminiscent to something Bauer would do in early seasons of 24, use the surrounding communities.
And that makes sense because even Eric says, when he's dragging Bauer down for the transfer, we studied you. We studied you at CIA. We know everything you used to do and how you operate. And that shows exactly why she's doing the same moves that Jack Bauer would have been doing, 5-7 years ago.
Not to mention, we have been ingrained right from the beginning to think that she has the magical, mystical Jack Bauer sixth sense too. Like she knows things, and she's smarter she's smarter than the rest of the lemmings. So Chloe's reunited with her hacker type organization that's sort of like a WikiLeaks group, and it's led by this guy Adrian Cross. And he's like, where you been? And we meet all the people. And where you been? Where have you been gone for so long? Oh, Chloe. We find that Chloe's sort of not the leader, but the moral support of this group. And we get a vibe.
Mother to the guy's daddy.
Right, to the guy's daddy. She seems to have some sort of crush on this Adrian Cross. I think that's supposed to be established. She has similar to the way she felt about Jack Bauer in the past. She has this.
She's not made up to look all hutty-ish, but she's a hot woman when she wants to be. When she wants to be.
Yeah.
And to all these computer nerds, she's not just like the the mother figure. She's also the kick-ass tattooed hottie that's super knowledgeable about everything. Used to work for the CIA, could kill us all. Like, she's pretty intimidating person in that room right there.
So in the middle of this goofy scene, right when she's being asked how she escaped, she goes, "A friend of mine broke me out." Jack busts in with his little Russian or whatever it is, Chechen dog, and looking for somebody. Doesn't she say he's like a Chechen soldier? And look at the marks he has on him for how many people he's killed. I forget what she refers to him as. I
might not have noticed it. I spaced in and out a little bit, but I don't believe. Did we even hear that guy open his mouth at all?
No, we didn't hear him talk. We didn't get I don't think we got a name either. All we got was Chloe referring to Jack, going, when Jack's like, "What have you been up to?" And she's like, "What have you been up to? Do you see all the tattoos on him? He's a Chechen soldier. That's how many people they've killed, or something like that. Like or like a black market, something like a mercenary. So I think he's supposed to be just a guy Jack probably hired as a bodyguard."
Right, he's not a friend. He hired him.
So Jack intercepts an intel-related assassin attempt on President Heller, and that's why he's here. He wasn't there to save Chloe. He could give a shit less about Chloe. He was there because he knew Chloe would lead him to this WikiLeaks group that would lead him to this other guy named Yates, I believe he was called.
Yep, Yates.
So that's the only reason Jack Bauer saved Chloe. He didn't save her because her's her friend. That was like a bonus. Like, oh, okay, Chloe's my friend. She's there too. I'll save her. But I think he intercepted the whole president's going to be assassinated thing, and he realized that this guy worked for an organization that Chloe was associated with, so he needed to kidnap Chloe no matter what, and she just happened to be in the CIA. So I don't think he gave a crap about her being tortured when it comes down to it. So this is where we meet Yates, and he was behind the drone attack. That becomes very clear.
Oh, hold on. I missed something that I wanted to point out to everybody. When they're escaping, and Chloe's got them all locked up in the basement, and they're at gunpoint, and Jack sets off the gas tanks to explode and escape, and he runs up through the hole that the guy shoots this bomb in the street and creates this big hole to the sewer that Jack crawls out of with the ladder. She turns around and runs back through the building and out to shoot at the escaping van just in time.
Yeah,
I want to ask how she got out of this level 5 lockdown so quick and easy. Like, you would figure that normal keypad numbers would be locked to, that these doors would be locked down. That's what lockdown means.
Well,
nobody in, nobody out.
Well, maybe she has superpowers too. Maybe she has the power of the Q.
It just seemed and she got all the way up and around before they got into the van and out, up the ladder into a van and out.
Still able to shoot a couple of times. And Jack kind of predicted, maybe they have like mental mind meld type of stuff, because Jack seemed to know she was about to shoot too, because he was on Chloe to get down before she. So right out here is where we meet Yates, and he was behind the drone attack. He's in the back of a sleazy apartment being protected with what looks like to be these like Russian drug dealers. He gets a call from or British drug dealers, or whoever they were, drug dealers. He gets a call from a woman who is purchasing the device that Yates has assured that the military has no clue that he has, and this is the thing to and that he arranged the perfect patsy, whatever that means, and this is when we get the vibe of who our villain is, and we don't see her fully. We only see her in shadows, but anybody.
But you should know her voice if you know her shows.
Yeah, everybody knows. And if you know her mouth, too, she has a very, very distinct lower part of her face. So if anybody is familiar with Game of Thrones, have watched like Game of Thrones recaps, it is none other than Catelyn Stark, and we mentioned earlier, of House Tully. Catelyn Tully. So she is our villain. Get your acting chops and play a villain in this, which I'm very excited to see. So we go from here to Tanner being questioned by the military security about what happened, and I believe this is into our second episode, where about the negative comments that he wrote negative comments on a Facebook post about his boss, and that all the records of his keystrokes have been logged in. So now we get a feeling what the other guy said, what Yates said about getting the perfect patsy. He set this guy up to be the perfect patsy. They even targeted something that just, again just made it seem like they covered every basis, even down to getting Shepard to cancel his shore leave just to make it look like he was extra pissed at him. It was just a perfect setup, and it is a perfect kind of situation. I think if this guy, if we weren't already supposed to get the vibe that this soldier has this Captain America vibe about him, like where he's just listen, like you can just tell the way he's lifting his head up. That like I'm gonna get through this. I don't think this. I think the truth is for this guy. I don't think the soldier is gonna. He's a Jedi, yeah. So they Star Wars when they film this, so they're gonna give this guy some good hero arc. I have a feeling. So we also meet our prime minister. The prime minister in this situation, and we have Heller being told about the drone strike in Afghanistan with the military soldier, and we find out in this moment then that the president gets separated and gets brought over to his advisors, who tell him that 2 of the men that were killed in the accident were British soldiers. And the president goes, listen, before the advisors of the prime minister tell him, I need to tell him what's going on. So let me get over there and tell the prime minister. But we see that the prime minister gets intercepted by his underlings, and they tell him what happens, and he gives a death stare to the president across the room.
Which was 3 Americans and 2 British soldiers died?
Or was it 2 and 2?
It's 2 and 2 is 4, yeah, so it's 2 and 2.
2 and 2. So Navarro calls Bordeaux, and we get these 2 talking again, and he tells him that Jack escaped and that with Chloe, and Bordeaux, our buddy Bordeaux, is not pleased of what's going on here. And then this is where we get our awesome scene with Chloe and Jack. Chloe is asking Jack what Heller, and he's like, I owe Heller and his family, but it's not as simple as that. This is a bigger issue. And Chloe's like, Cosmo's bullshit. Is like, listen, no, Jack. You just want to get in Audrey's pants. That's all this is all about. You just want to save the president, be accepted back into the country, be able to hang out with your daughter again, be able to have sex with Audrey. Audrey, you don't know she's married, do you, Jack? Do you, Jack? And he calls her out on her bullshit and goes, Chloe, I don't think I hear your voice talking. I think you're just, you're listening to you're drinking the Kool-Aid that this guy in here is serving you. And I don't like that, Chloe. You're not the real Chloe. Give me real Chloe. And it's an interesting setup. And this is where we get Heller talking to Bordeaux, who says he wants to call the Prime Minister and speak directly to Parliament. Bordeaux thinks this is a big mistake. Heller wants to bring in Tanner, the soldier, and make him basically be interrogated by the British government, like on primetime BBC television, which Bordeaux's worried that Heller isn't on top of his game, that he's going to be fucked with by British Parliament. And I honestly think this is a smart. Like, I think it's
super smart.
It's super smart. The British Parliament's a hard place for people to deal with. Like,
they are not. Have you ever watched them with their own prime minister?
Yes, I have.
Absolutely met them.
It's ridiculous the way they talk to each other at British Parliament. Forget talking to a guy that just killed two of their men. It would be disastrous. It would not work out.
He would have to have some serious speech to start out with that shut everybody up for him to get through. Like, there's no way. They would be screaming at him, coming from every direction. He wouldn't be able to get a word out. It would be a disaster.
Yeah, there's no reason to put yourself in that kind of position. And the fact that the president probably should do like some sort of like canned speech about the whole situation. Like, I don't think he should do this. I think this is a mistake.
Well, we also have the press corps here, which shout out questions, but they don't shout out insults and scream at him, murderer, and all this stuff, which our protesters do and stuff that are outside of buildings. But it wouldn't be. I don't think it would be a good move at all.
No, but he did great in Iowa, Joe. Remember that town meeting in Iowa where he did?
People respond to the truth.
People respond to the truth, Joe. Don't you agree? People respond to the truth. Oh gosh. So I lost my notes, so I'm gonna go on instinct here until I can reopen them up. So at this point, after here, we get Jack being told where he can find the bad guy, where he can find Yates, the main guy, the main other leader of the organization, is like, listen, I'll tell you where you can find Yates. Just do me a favor, get the hell out of here, and don't ever come back. I don't ever want to deal with you again. get the hell out of here. And I think it's interesting that Jack kind of calls him out on him when he first sees him. He says something to him, because I think this guy's going to end up coming back and being a bigger villain too. The leader of the WikiLeaks group, Chloe O'Brien's boyfriend there, because just the way Jack said to him, "Oh, you think everything you do is benign. I know better than that. You don't fool me." Just lets me believe that Jack maybe knows something about this guy that the rest of his little group of nerds don't know, that he could be up to a few more evil things than all these people seem to think. At least that's
I think there's going to be more of a. I know it's on Fox and all, but I think it's going to be more of a. They're going to show Jack being upset at him for doing the things he does, leaking the papers. It's not a benign act. It gets people killed, whether you're selling the information or just posting it for free for people. And I think it's going to make, by the end, because he starts helping Jack in this episode anyway, maybe we're going to see that maybe this guy, though he does these things, isn't a bad guy and believes he is doing good. Maybe Jack opens up to that, and there's that whole social message there for us.
Okay, so you think this guy's going to probably be more of a good guy, and the surprise is more going to be about him being a good guy rather than a bad guy.
Well, yep. That's a distinct possibility, because they made him come off as quite a little bit sketchy, and then just what he and his organization and these kids and Chloe have been doing in the first place, where they have the whole place set up to be torn down and bug out, which he calls for when Jack kicks in the place, that it very well could be that they're going for a sympathy route with this whole WikiLeaks social commentary.
So Yates tells his girlfriend about Bordeaux tells his Audrey about his father's plan. She thinks he can handle it. Let him do it. It almost reminds me of the Star Trek Next Generation episode Saavik, when Saavik's going crazy and needs to do one last mission, and everyone's like, "Listen, just let him get through this one last thing, and everything was going to be okay. Everything will be okay. Just let him get through this one last thing." And Audrey thinks they can help him prepare. They can do kind of like a little mini town meeting. We go back to Yates. Yates tells his girlfriend that the U.S. president is about to be killed on foreign soil, and as we've learned from South Park the movie, when a president is killed when two Canadians are killed in foreign soil, Saddam Hussein and Satan are going to make a comeback. So it thinks that the doomsday clock will start, and if the president's killed on foreign soil, and that they'll be happy in Greenland after they sell the device that they need to Catelyn Stark. So Kate tells Navarro that
sweet-looking Russian girl, though, by the way.
Yeah, she's really cute, and she's been in a couple of things too as well. I almost feel like at the end, we'll get to the end. I have a funny thought that I had at the end that I wish happened, but whatever. She is very attractive.
Don't you love her gold digging Russian though? She just like doesn't care about anything but get me out of this place, and as long as I have you and the money that you're gonna make, and we can go somewhere else.
Hot mess character perfect, especially because of the reveal at the end. It's really awesome to see how she plays this, because it gives me a lot of respect for the actress, because she's playing a character within a character, and it's like viable that she's that dumb that she's this like money hungry Russian chick that just doesn't care about that's that you on the television that blew up that thing,
I thought she would be a little bit more like as a character, a little bit more upset that she is in the couple of places that she's actually in physically in the moment than she was. She seemed content and happy as long as she was next to him.
As long as she was with him,
be wanting a little bit more than that, and you know what I mean?
So Kate tells Navarro that she tracked a hit on Jack and Chloe's cell phone number into a housing project. So the CIA is going to head down there. So but when Jack leaves the whole WikiLeaks place, Chloe's like, listen, Jack, I know everyone watching 24 wants to hear me on the comm with you right now, so I need to make up an excuse why I need to leave now. She basically, as much as she has a crush on this other guy, I think her first love is Jack Bauer, and she needs to help him. She's like, listen, Jack, I'll help you through the situation. You need me on the comm. So we get Chloe and Jack back together doing what they do best, with her on his earpiece saying really ridiculous, horrible things to him while he's trying to do his Jack Bauer thing. And that's our whole setup for the end half of this episode, and it's awesome. Jack pulls up in front of the Basher building with the bad guys, and Chloe's going to stay behind the van to do her Chloe thing. And right here we go quickly to Heller, who preps for Parliament with his daughter and son-in-law, and he struggles with a couple of He struggles at the end because he can't remember the other British soldier's name, which again, I see why the guy like makes it a big point and like hammers it home on him, because that's exactly what British Parliament would do to him in that situation. But
every pundit around the world, every political foe around the world is going to harp on it for months.
But it also happened within an hour, so give him time before because he's got time before he's going to face Parliament. He's not forgetting that because of the dementia. He's forgetting that because it just happened less than an hour ago, and he's just learned the names. You know, you got to give him a little bit of a break, and especially for
how long it's been, maybe a half an hour, 45 minutes. Yeah, it's not real time.
Exactly. So give me a break. It's not just dementia. Sometimes we pointed out people forget things. If I tell you a name at the beginning of the show, you're not going to remember it by the end of the show. And so the fact that he looks at his notes to remind him that he's got to learn somehow, and being mean to him isn't going to help. I think in that case he acted like a dick. I think that was his dick moment in that scene, because he didn't have to be that hard. He should have just been like, listen, you need to learn these names. That's a fact. If you're to write it on your fucking hand, you need to learn these names.
Yeah, but for her to be like all stop it. This is the leader of the free world. He has to be able to take this shit. This is his This is his what'd you call him? Secretary of State?
Or so he was the Secretary of Defense at one point.
Defense, right. Like, he's got to be able to talk to him like this and hammer home the point. And the president even kind of knows that.
In fairness, the president doesn't seem to mind at all. He just kind of brushes it off like that you're doing your job. He gives him the you're doing your job vibe. So he's okay with that.
He's kind of okay with it because he's also given him but you know, don't feel bad for me because I have dementia, but you are still doing your job. There's that but you are still doing your job thing that is kind of in there with it. You know, but she just completely is like forgets the whole. This is the president of the United States, and she just takes it way too hard and way too close because it's her big daddy and he's sick and all that. I understand that, but still.
So with the help of security cameras from Chloe, Jack is able to get into the Basher apartment, and this is where we have the Liam Neeson moment where he offers Basher a deal. He goes, "Listen, I know you guys seem like a pretty tough crew. I know it seems like I'm outnumbered, but I'm going to give you 2 seconds to get the hell out of here. I'm going to give you 2 seconds to not all get your ass kicked and most of you die."
Yep. I assure you I am not at a disadvantage in this room.
And do you know what I would have been funny is if Basher goes, "What's your name again? Jack Bauer? I've heard of you." And they all just leave. You know, that's almost what I wanted to happen in that scene. Like, it plays out where they don't listen to him and Jack Bauer kicks everyone's ass in the room, which is also satisfying. But part of me wanted to take the comedic route there, where the guys were just like, you know what, we're not getting paid enough, and just walked out of there. Like,
right. Or we already got paid.
Yeah, we already got paid. See you later, Jack Bauer. Thanks. But instead, Jack kicks all their asses, and it's pretty funny. And Yates sneaks out the back with his girlfriend, and Adrian calls Chloe with the word that the convoy, that the CIA is heading that way. So Chloe gets the hell out of Dodge.
Can I say I thought that was extremely strange that this guy didn't just he grabbed her to leave, like he did the case that he was carrying or whatever, and it just seemed a little strange that he would care that much about this girl, where he's willing to.
He's his drug. You got to think that I think it's established that she's his she's one of supplying him with heroin. So maybe he looks at her also as that she's holding on to the drugs to kind of make sure he doesn't do them all at once. They never directly said that, but it was one of those vibes where I get that she's not partaking in the drug use, but she's okay with it. So she's probably holding on to his supply so he doesn't do it all at once. At least that's a vibe I got. I'm suppositioning there, creating my own backstory, but I hear what you're saying. It's like they don't seem close enough. It seems like she's his thing of the week, not really his paramour. So why is he protecting her? No, bad dog.
Yeah, protecting her, dragging her around, saying we're gonna have this, we're gonna have that. Like, there's a million of her out there. Especially when you have millions of dollars because you just sold American secrets and had to hack into drone aircrafts. But
I think part of it too is Yates thinks in the parking lot, Jack sneaks up behind Kate because Kate basically screwed him up right when he was about to capture the bad guys. The CIA showed up and they brought him in, or they're like Jack.
The bad guys ran by and said, "Oh, there's a crazy guy with a gun."
Yeah, exactly. And they just let the bad guys go. And Jack's like, "Listen, come on." And then Kate kind of grabs him. This is where this scene happens. Kate, he has Kate. He's like, he stops her. He's like, listen, Jack gets away because he gets shot, and after the CIA gets
the Russian from the balcony shoots Jack at a distance as he's begging them. He puts his gun down. He gets on his knees. He says, "I'm fine. I give up. Just get them. They're getting away. They're getting away." And then the Russian on the balcony, way behind him, at a couple hundred yards, shoots Jack, grazes his shoulder, and he falls down.
Yep.
And that causes chaos and everybody to notice the Russian. And that's how Jack slips away.
And Jack gets away. And in the parking lot, he sneaks up behind Kate, disarms her, tells her that before she stepped in, he was about to get the bad guy, and she hits him. And he goes, that was a mistake. And then he just knocks her out. He knocks her out. Jack Bauer doesn't discriminate. If you try to F with Jack Bauer, he's going to hit you back. He doesn't care.
He was about to tell her everything.
Yep. He's about to say, join my team, honey. Join my team. And she shouldn't have hit Jack Bauer. But he doesn't like do permanent damage. He just knocks her down. And she's as tough as he is. She could kill him as easily. So it's a fair fight. And he punches her out. So Jack ends up getting a flash drive, and him and Chloe are in the car getting ready to drive away, and she pulls up in the stolen car. Jack drives away. The flash drive goes in the computer, which gives them all the evidence they need to prove everything, that this was Yates, not the soldier, that he can protect the president. They have everything they need, but unfortunately this flash drive was programmed by Inspector Gadget, and it self-destructs in 5 minutes, and the whole thing self-destructs and crashes her computer. And
I have a problem with that.
That's very 24, though. And
but I have a problem with that.
What's that?
My problem with that is Chloe was working with this guy in this little WikiLeaks group for a couple of months.
Mm-hmm.
They never talked about how they have these computer bomb flash drives that will burn out the other computer. She should have known not to put that in. That could have been any. She's like, "Oh, I'll put this in and run it on my computer." You know.
No, I hear you there. It's a little weird that she didn't think to analyze it first, bring it back to the WikiLeaks group and look into it on a deeper level before just jumping in on it. I hear what you're saying, but again, it's one of those silly 24 tropes that is very consistent through the series. They find something, they think that they have all the evidence, and then something ridiculous happens. The person that's going to testify gets shot. The tape breaks, the CD gets destroyed, the phone gets destroyed that has the picture. You know, like that always happens on 24. It's a 24 like repetition, a theme.
Murphy's Law's playing
for Jack Bauer. It's just gonna happen. It's gonna be the most difficult course of action to get there. You know, anything that bad's gonna happen is gonna happen. So our final scene of the episode is we see Yates. He thinks that this all happened, that the break-in from the cops, or he doesn't really. His logic's kind of fuzzy. He thinks that this was all because of Catelyn Stark, that she came to the realization that she doesn't need to pay for the device and that she's just going to kill him. And it's not completely stupid to think this way, but that wasn't what was going on. And he thinks he needs to find a new buyer, and he says to his girlfriend that the Margot is her name, that the previous buyer sent these people. We need to find a new buyer. And
yeah, because he has no idea who Jack Bauer is or why Jack Bauer is there. He just thinks that Catelyn Stark sent him to kill him in order to just steal the programming,
and steal the money
instead of buy it.
Instead of buying it. So
he tells the little Russian girl, we're gonna go to like some cold ass like Iceland or some crap like that.
He says Greenland, I think. Before.
What's that?
I think he says Greenland.
Greenland. And it's like, what the hell? Of course she's going to kill him. She don't want to go to Greenland, you bastard. You told me we were going Florida, Hawaii, Poconos, somewhere.
So he goes in and takes a piss, and she sneaks it behind him, and she wants a little dirty bathroom action. She's like, hey, baby, let's get a little dirty bathroom action. And right as they're about to get into it, she pulls out a little knife and stabs him through the ear, I think. She stabs him.
Oh, yeah.
And kills him. And takes the box, walks outside, takes off her wig, loses the horrible accent, and we find out that is none other than Arya Stark. That's why I wanted her to like rip off a mask and be Sansa.
She's been chilling with the faceless men.
Yeah, it wouldn't have been fun. Like again, if they cast either Arya or Sansa in that part.
Ken Hakar taught her a couple of things on how in disguise.
Oh God, she's been training over there in Bravo. She's back for some fun. No, but I thought it was hilarious when it's like, oh no, you're my daughter, and then she calls up Catelyn Stark and goes, I have the device, and we learn that it's Margot's daughter. I just thought my initial thought when she goes, Mummy. Oh, you okay, Mummy? Like I was just like, I wanted the actress to be Sansa because the actress is blonde. The actress who plays Sansa is blonde in real life, so it would have been interesting, like if they cast her. But then it would have been a dead giveaway from the beginning of the episode. Anyone that paid like significant attention. I just thought it would have been funny if. Of
course, it would have been. That would have been cool.
So a couple more little points. In future recaps of 24, I'll be a little less, this happened, this happened, this happened. But you almost have to be like that with 24 because it's just that kind of show. I found this when I was doing my immediate reactions. It's a show you almost, like, it's not so many themes. It's an action show of this happens, this happens, this happens. And what happens kind of discredits things that happened in the past. It's not like you're finding out things as a story. You're finding out what isn't true that you knew in the past. So it's a lot of like, ooh, this happened.
They get to take out, because they have so many different characters and places that are all occurring in real time at the same time, you only have brief moments, the exciting moments. So you have Jack Bauer doing something exciting. Meanwhile, the president's taking a nap on the couch, or taking a poop in the bathroom. So then when you go to the president, he's doing something exciting. Jack Bauer's taking a poop.
Now, speaking of which, 24, a lot of people thought, and I said to a certain extent at the beginning of this podcast, that maybe they should have gone a different route with this and done a different show, but no. 24 is 24, and they didn't try to reinvent the wheel. It feels like 24. It feels...
Yep, they got their same hooks, the time thing, and the split screens, all the, look at what he's doing, look at what he's doing, oh my God, what's going on over in this screen? You can't see these because you're looking at this one. Oh!
And I gotta say, the way that Kiefer Sutherland's looking kind of older and wrinkled and stuff.
Dude, he had his shirt off, he didn't look that bad, come on.
No, but I'm saying, no, my point is, he looks perfect, like he's in good shape. I mean, like his face just looks like he's been through hell.
And that's why they had him have his shirt off in the first 10 minutes of the show, sitting there with the lead, all the electrode leads all over him, and he's just sitting there all like
listening in the light. Look how beautiful Kiefer is. Look how
you know you want me, I'm yummy.
But what I'm saying is, like, the way he looks like a guy that's been through the hell that Jack Bauer's went. He always looked a little too pretty to be Jack Bauer.
Face was worn. Kiefer Sutherland's always had a warm face. The Sutherland family is not... I mean, Kiefer's always been known as a good-looking guy, but that's partially because he's a rugged man.
Okay.
You know?
I want one mystery to come, and this is the last point I'll make about 24. Live Another Day. The only thing I want to happen is I feel like 24 Live Another Day or 24 in general dropped the ball when we brought in Jack Bauer's father several seasons ago, and it was played by some other guy. I believe, was it played by Dennis Hopper, maybe? Or, no, Dennis Hopper was a different guy. It was played by some random actor. Why didn't you got to bring Donald Sutherland on the show now at some role. I want to see Donald Sutherland on 24. He would make sense as like upper military, like a real evil military guy.
He does that well.
He does
that role well.
Is he too big with his part now, like having the resurgence with the Hunger Game movies? Is Donald Sutherland too big to be in 24? Because I want to see Kiefer and Donald work together more, and I want to see.
Maybe they're just trying to keep it, you know, that would be a great moment for super fans and for us, or for Sutherland fans, but maybe they're trying to keep it from being too, you know,
I hear you, but
cheeky.
I hear you, but in the first season they had Lou Diamond Phillips show up, for Christ's sake. You know, I wouldn't be surprised if they have like
Charlie and Emilio come through.
Yeah, Charlie and Emilio come through at some point. If 24, I think if either one of them would have wanted to, especially Emilio, if Emilio didn't retire and become a director, he probably could have been on 24 anytime he wanted to. But I guess
wait. Now that we mentioned 4 out of the 6 Young Guns, how would you like to be the 2 those guys?
The ones that you remember, Christian Slater from Young Guns 2 more than you remember them.
Right.
Or John Locke from Lost being the guy at the end that dies. It's yeah, you don't remember those other 2 guys because they were very similar. They both had beards, and one of them I remember was like a guy that chewed dip and was like more of a rough guy, and the other guy was a more innocent guy that ended up getting married on the Young Guns trip.
I've seen them in a million things. They've been in a million things. They're still around.
But they're not
like,
Emilio.
At least one of them is.
But they're not Emilio, Charlie, or Kiefer. And friggin' Charlie dies like 15 minutes into the movie. I mean, Charlie's not even in that movie. I remember I watched that as a Charlie Sheen fan, like, because I was into Major League and then into Men at Work. So I was like into other Charlie Sheen stuff, like Platoon even. And I was like, oh, Charlie Sheen's gonna be the star of this Western movie. And it ended up being Emilio as the star, and that's what introduced me to Emilio, which got me in the Mighty Ducks and all that stuff. But that being said, I just think that Donald Sutherland, the actor, forget the fact that he's Kiefer Sutherland's father. I think if they ever do more 24, because he's probably not in these 12 episodes, if they ever do more 24 after this, or they finally do a movie, if they get a good response, and this is just kind of the lead-in to be able to do a movie, the main villain. We should get the main villain of all time for Jack Bauer, someone that's been behind all the horrible stuff that's happened to him in his whole life, should be Donald Sutherland. I just think he'd play that so, like, psycho, crazy Donald Sutherland playing it.
Donald Sutherland also has been known to do a lot of walkthroughs and extra roles, like sitting in the background stuff, just for fun.
I would just love to see him as a part of 24.
Yeah.
But anyways, my friends, thank you very much for joining us. We know this is late in the week, but anyone that has joined this podcast, we appreciate it. And if you've gotten to this point in the podcast, please let us know in the comment section. And please comment away about anything you felt about this episode of 24 and what you're hoping to see for the rest of the season. For the rest of the season, I'm hoping to see more Jack Bauer and less focus on the rest of the CIA things. I kind of think that eventually Jack Bauer, this whole them CIA chasing Jack Bauer, he's going to end up joining them, and it's going to be one force working against the bad guys, because that's what 24 usually does. Jack, the first act of 24 is Jack needing to get on the same page as the authorities and to eventually be on the same page, to Jack having to do something that gets him off the grid again. So I feel like I want more from Jack Bauer's perspective, less from some of these new characters' perspective. But I feel like in the first episodes, you needed to do that. You needed to throw all our players on the table and see where they're at. But as the series goes on, I want to see more Jack, because to me, I'm way more interested in scenes when Jack Bauer's on the screen. So everybody, if you have any email questions, you can email me at igotissuesman@gmail.com. If you have any voicemails, you can leave the voicemails or text at 781-990-8509. Please comment, subscribe, rate. Thank you very much for your support. We will be back on Sunday to talk about more Game of Thrones podcast fun. And thank you everybody for the views and the comments on the video this week. The comments are out of control this week, and we're doing really well in our comparison to other programs out there on doing episode recaps. So at a much smaller subscriber base. So thank you everyone that's been subscribing, and keep sharing it with your friends and doing all the stuff you're doing, because we wouldn't be doing this if it wasn't for you guys. Instead, we'd just be talking on the phone doing this. We wouldn't be doing it for other people. This would be a big phone conversation. Now we don't even talk on the phone anymore. We're like, we should save this conversation for a podcast. So that's what we're going to try to do. Everyone, thank you very much. So this podcast was a little longer than normal. We did have to talk about 2 episodes. So thank you, everybody. Talk to you next time.